There is a Buddhist meditational deity related to Vajrayogini called Chinnamasta or Chinnamunda. This is not all that popular, not all that common in art, but it can be found, and it is quite interesting to see, because this is the form of Vajrayogini that has a severed head, and she severs the head herself. So she looks like a typical Vajrayogini, one-faced, two-armed, standing with both legs down, and she has two attendant figures standing, one at each side, and she holds a curved knife in one hand and a skull bowl in the other, typically, and then she severs her own head, and the head is then placed inside the skull cup in the left hand. From the neck are three streams of liquid, of blood, and the first stream, the central stream, goes into the mouth of Chinnamasta, and the other two streams go into the mouths of the two attendant figures. Now, she's fairly wrathful in appearance. She has either freshly severed heads or she has skulls, dried skulls. Depends on the tradition. So this form of Vajrayogini is a little bit rare. It can be found as secondary images. It's rarely found as a central figure. It's more often found as a secondary figure in paintings. It is contained in a number of collections, such as the Sanskrit Sadhanamala, sort of put together by Bhattacharya. And then it's also contained in a number of the translated early Sanskrit compendiums of sadhanas, such as the Druptap Gyatso, Patsap Gyatsa, possibly, and others. So in Tibetan language and in Sanskrit, there's actually very few texts, source texts. But what's important here is to know that there is one English publication called Chinnamasta, the Awful Buddhist and Hindu Tantric Goddess. And this is, I think, done in 1994, published out of Delhi, by Motilal. And the author is Elizabeth Benard, and Elizabeth Benard has put a tremendous amount of work into trying to understand the Sanskrit and the Tibetan texts and the history and the lineages of this Chinnamasta or Chinnamunda Vajrayogini. So this text, it's also might be of interest to some people that Elizabeth Benard is also the wife of Nima Dorje, who wrote or who did the catalog for the Jacques Marchais Museum on Staten Island in New York, which is, I consider, to be one of the very best, finest catalogs done on Himalayan, Tibetan, and Buddhist art. Chinnamasta, the Awful Buddhist and Hindu Tantric Goddess, the only real English publication I'm aware of that has just a wealth of information on this form of Vajrayogini, but also helpful with many of the other forms of Vajrayogini, is this publication. So press the like button, you can subscribe, you can join HAR on Patreon, and you can also donate to HAR directly on the Himalayan Art Resources homepage.